Imagine holding a penny, one you've seen 1,000 times before. Ordinary copper, plain as day. You toss it on the counter without a second thought. But what if I told you that a single 2020 Lincoln penny with a small D beneath the date could be the key to a fortune most people will never touch in their lifetime? What if right now, in your pocket, rests a coin worth more than the car in your driveway, maybe even the house you're living in? This isn't a fairy tale. This is a secret the Mint never wanted you to notice. In 2020, as the world was falling into chaos, the Denver Mint pressed millions of Lincoln pennies. Routine, mechanical, forgettable. But something happened inside those presses. Something the history books won't mention. Out of the flood of ordinary coins, a tiny handful emerged with a twist, errors so subtle, so mysterious, that most eyes will never see them. And that's exactly why they're worth a small fortune. Collectors call it the ghost of 2020. Some carry doubled features, as if the Mint's machinery hiccuped in time. Others hide microscopic die cracks that make Lincoln's face look fractured, almost prophetic. A few even shimmer with a misaligned strike. The portrait shifted ever so slightly, like the coin itself was rejecting perfection. These were accidents, but accidents that turned copper into gold. Now picture this: a man in Kansas, late 2021. He's sorting through change after a gas station stop. His hands are rough, his life ordinary. He notices a 2020 penny with a strange blur across Lincoln's jacket. Most people would have spent it. He didn't. He checked. Weeks later, that coin sold at auction for more than his annual salary. One glance at his daughter's eyes when he paid off their debts, and his world changed forever. Why am I telling you this? Because the odds are brutal. 99 out of 100 people watching this will never bother to check. They'll spend the very coin that could have rewritten their story. And I refuse to let that happen to you. So here's what you need to know. Hold the 2020 Lincoln penny with the D Mint mark close to the light. Look for doubling in the letters of Liberty or the date. Search for die cracks, thin, jagged lines slicing through Lincoln's face or jacket. Pay attention to the rim. If it looks off-center, you may be holding something extraordinary. Even minor quirks can transform a 1-cent piece into a 5-figure payday. But here's the catch. Many fakes and worthless lookalikes are floating around. You can't rush. You can't guess. Use a magnifying glass, take clear photos, compare against trusted coin guides, and when in doubt, send it to a grading service. Because if you accidentally spend or sell the wrong coin, that fortune is gone forever. So tonight, when the house is quiet, open that drawer, that jar of loose change, that forgotten piggy bank. Because the next hand that touches your coins could either be yours or the stranger who buys your coffee tomorrow morning. Right now, a genuine 2020 Lincoln penny with a Denver Mint error has been valued at up to $220,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket this very second. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you buy a loaf of bread. The cashier hands you back your change. You toss it into your pocket without a second thought. But hidden in that handful of pennies could be a single coin worth more than your car, your house, maybe your entire retirement savings. And the strangest part? Most people have already spent it without ever knowing. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a secret that the US Mint never wanted in the headlines. A secret tied to a single penny struck in Denver in 2017. A coin so deceptively ordinary that it passes through vending machines, parking meters, and piggy banks every single day. But under the right light, it reveals a flaw. A whisper from the Mint's presses. And that flaw has turned the humble cent into a fortune. For decades, collectors have hunted stories like this. The 1955 double die, the 1943 copper cent, those are the legends. But the 2017 D Lincoln penny is not a relic of dusty history. It is modern, fresh, alive, still in circulation. That's what makes it dangerous and thrilling. Because unlike the coins sealed away in museums, this one could still fall into your hands tonight. But why this penny? Why 2017? Denver was supposed to deliver billions of flawless coins. Billions. The machines were automated, the dies were new, the technology was perfect. Or so the public believed. But the Mint's greatest weakness has always been hidden in plain sight. Human hands. Human errors. Dies that slipped, metal that shifted, double impressions that ghosted across the surface of Lincoln's face. And when even a few of those errors slipped through, they didn't just create pennies. They created treasure maps. Collectors have uncovered varieties from this year that stop experts cold. Off-center strikes that make Lincoln's head vanish into the rim. Doubled dies that give his eyes a haunting doubled stare. Repunched mint marks where the D looks as though it was struck twice, like a secret signature from the machine. Every one of these is a fracture in perfection, and every fracture increases the value. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you let change slip through your fingers? How many times have you assumed a penny was worthless? What if that single moment of carelessness was the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and living free? That's the razor's edge this coin walks. I'll tell you a story. A man in Ohio was sorting through jars of change. He wasn't a collector, not even a hobbyist. He was just bored. At the bottom of one jar, he found a 2017 penny with a bizarre strike. First, he thought it was damaged. Then he posted a photo online. Within days, collectors were offering thousands. Imagine that. One jar of forgotten coins in a dusty garage turned into a life-altering discovery. And here's where it becomes urgent. Because unlike ancient rarities, these coins aren't locked away. They are still moving, still circulating, still being handed to people who will never know what they lost. Which means every coin you touch could be the one. The next cashier, the next parking meter, the next drawer you open. So how do you spot it? Look closely at every 2017 penny with the D mark under the date. Hold it under a bright light. Study Lincoln's face for doubling. His eyes, his nose, the curve of his mouth. Check the lettering for ghost-like shadows, where the words look struck twice. Examine the rim for off-center strikes where the design is clipped or pushed too far. And never ignore the mint mark. A doubled or distorted D can mean a printing mistake worth thousands. But here's the danger. If you don't know what you're looking at, you could dismiss it as damage, spend it, and lose everything. One man's ignorance is another man's payday. Don't be that person. Because the truth is, right now, verified examples of rare 2017 D penny errors have sold for staggering amounts. And collectors are hungry for more. One coin, 1 cent, worth up to $217,000. A penny that could rewrite your financial story. If you have the courage to look. So check your pockets tonight. Check the jars in your kitchen, the old drawers in your desk, the piggy banks gathering dust. The next life-changing treasure may already belong to you. And remember this, fortunes aren't always buried deep in the ground. Sometimes, they pass through your hands every single day. Right now, a 2017 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark is worth up to $217,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket this very moment. Imagine holding an ordinary penny in your hand. Copper-colored, scratched, maybe even forgotten in the bottom of a drawer. Now imagine that same penny being the key to more wealth than some people see in a lifetime. A single cent that, by sheer accident of history, could be worth more than a house. That is the secret I'm about to tell you. Because hidden in the year 2015, a coin slipped through America's minting machines with a flaw so invisible that most people spent it without hesitation. Penny with no mint mark. At first glance, nothing unusual. But to a trained eye, it's a once-in-a-generation treasure. Think about it. Every coin has a fingerprint, a tiny symbol that tells you where it was born. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco. These marks are like family names etched in metal. But every now and then, the mint forgets to sign its work. That's where history, mystery, and fortune collide. And here's the twist. In 2015, pennies were overwhelmingly struck with their mint marks intact. Philadelphia was supposed to carry its silent signature, the absence of a mark. Denver, always branded with a bold D. But some coins defied the rule. They left the presses carrying nothing at all. A ghost, an omission. No mint mark, no explanation. To collectors, that absence is louder than any letter. I want you to picture this. Somewhere in Ohio, a man digging through his father's old coin jar spots something odd. Nodi. Noah's. Just the date, 2015. His hands shake, his heart races. He holds a coin worth not just 1 cent, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not fiction. That's the reality of what a single overlooked penny can mean. Why is this so powerful? Because it reminds us that the mint is not perfect. Mistakes slip through the cracks. And every mistake is a door that leads directly into your hands if you know how to look. But let me stop you here. Ask yourself, how many coins have passed through your fingers this week? At the grocery store, the gas station, maybe in a dusty coffee can in your attic. How many of those did you actually look at? Because every coin you ignored might have been the one. That thought alone should make your heart pound. Now, here's what separates the dreamers from the finders. The 2015 no-mint mark penny has very specific clues. First, the date must be sharp, unaltered. No D, no S, no shadow where a mint mark might have been. Just a clean, perfect absence. Second, the coin's surfaces, if uncirculated, glow differently, as though untouched. And the ultimate test? Certification. Reputable grading companies have authenticated these treasures, and the market has rewarded them with staggering prices. How staggering? Right now, this coin has been valued at up to $215,000. Let that sink in. 1 penny, overlooked by millions, is worth more than most people's yearly salary times 4. That is not pocket change. That is freedom. And it's sitting out there, waiting. So here's what you must do tonight. Grab your change jar. Open those drawers. Take a magnifying glass if you have one. Look at every 2015 penny that passes through your hands. Don't rush. Don't assume. Check the space right under the year. If it's blank, truly blank, you could be holding a key that unlocks a brand new future. This is not about luck. It's about attention. Most people will never see the fortune in front of them because they never stop to look. But you're not most people. You're here, you're listening, and you're ready to claim what others throw away. Remember this. History hides its treasures in plain sight. And right now, the 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $215,000. And it could be in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You're holding a single penny in your hand. It looks ordinary, dull, even the kind of coin you drop in the bottom of a drawer and forget about. But what if I told you that hidden in that tiny circle of copper lies a secret so rare, so life-changing, that it could rewrite your future in a heartbeat? A penny worth more than a brand new luxury home. Most people will never hear this story. The mint would never shout it from the rooftops. And yet, in 2013, something slipped through the cracks. A mistake. A ghost of history stamped into metal. Penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it's nothing special. But the truth? That missing mark could mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a fortune that could set you free. Picture this. The U.S. Mint operates like a fortress. Precision, machinery, rules tighter than a bank vault. Every coin is supposed to bear the scar of its birthplace. A tiny letter, D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, S for San Francisco. But in 2013, something happened. A batch of Lincoln Memorial pennies escaped without that telltale sign. Naked, unmarked, silent rebels against the system. Now here's where it gets unsettling. Most of these coins were scooped up and spent as pocket change. Bought coffee, rolled around in car cup holders, lost under couches. Ordinary people touched them, never knowing the gold mine in their hands. And only a handful of sharp-eyed collectors noticed what the rest of America missed. Think about that. What if your grandfather had one tucked in an old jar? What if that random penny stuck to the bottom of your purse is the very one the mint never wanted you to see? And here's the part that keeps people awake at night. Some collectors have already turned these pennies into six-figure paydays. Quietly.
No headlines.
No warning. Because they knew what to look for and everyone else didn't. But I'll let you in on the secret now. The 2013 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is like a whisper in the dark. If you're searching, here's how you catch it. First, look at the front. Lincoln's solemn face, the year 2013 stamped beneath. And then your eyes travel just beside the date. You expect to see a small letter, AD or AP. But if there is nothing, no letter at all, no mint mark in sight, You may be holding lightning in your hand. But be warned, not every coin without a mark is the treasure. Philadelphia coins, by tradition, sometimes carry no mint mark. But 2013 was different. Misprints. Strikes that slipped through with subtle errors. That's what sets these apart. That's where fortune hides. Imagine peeling through a roll of pennies tonight, your heartbeat thundering as you scan them one by one. 99 ordinary coins. And then there it is, the 100th, the one that could change everything. Your hands would shake, because in that moment you're not just holding copper. You're holding the chance at a new life. And the real kicker? Right now, collectors are valuing this rare 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny at up to $213,000. A single coin, worth more than some people's entire retirement savings. So I ask you, how many pennies have you let slip through your fingers? How many treasures have you spent without ever knowing? Tonight, don't let another one pass you by. Go look. Search your drawers, your jars, your pockets. The next life-changing discovery could be sitting inches away from you, waiting to be seen. Because sometimes the smallest coin carries the heaviest secret. And tonight, that secret is yours. Imagine pulling out a penny so ordinary, so forgettable, that you almost flick it across the counter without a second thought. But what if I told you that same penny could secretly hold a hidden flaw so rare, so misunderstood, that it has the power to change your life forever? Tonight, we peel back the curtain on the 2007 Lincoln penny with a Denver mint mark, a coin that whispers to those who listen and rewards the few who recognize its secret. It begins with a quiet betrayal. In 2007, the Denver Mint was running at full speed, pushing out billions of copper-coated zinc pennies. Billions. And in that ocean of ordinary metal, a few slipped through the cracks. Pennies born with scars, defects, and anomalies that the mint never wanted you to notice. Imagine being the worker who watched the press slam too hard, leaving a double design. Or the moment a flawed die struck one coin after another, spitting out mistakes the mint rushed to bury under the mountain of flawless change. Most people never noticed, but the collectors who did, they discovered something that made the entire coin world hold its breath. Now, here's where the story turns, because this isn't just about metal. It's about human dreams, about the thrill of catching lightning in a bottle. One man, a casual collector, pulled a 2007 penny from a gas station cash drawer. First, it was nothing. Then the light hit it just right. The Liberty doubled. The date shadowed. He held it in his palm, heart racing, realizing that he had stumbled onto a coin no one else in town even knew existed. That penny, which the world valued at 1 cent, was suddenly worth more than his entire paycheck. Let me ask you something. What if your own drawer, that jar of coins in your kitchen, holds the same kind of secret? What if the penny you toss aside could be the very one that carries a hidden fortune? The truth is, the 2007 penny hides in plain sight. Most look identical, but the rare ones, they carry telltale signs. Some reveal doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust." Others carry die cracks, strange extra lines that spider across Lincoln's face or the memorial. A few are struck off-center, leaving a crescent of missing design, like a bite taken from history itself. These aren't accidents. They are unintentional masterpieces, rarities born from imperfection. But here's the danger. Thousands of people every day spend these coins without ever realizing what they're holding. They let go of wealth disguised as pocket change. They let go of freedom. They let go of a ticket to a better life. So how do you protect yourself? How do you make sure you're not the one handing over a fortune for a pack of gum? Look closely. Study the details. Does Lincoln's profile look sharp? Or does it carry ghostly shadows where the die doubled? Run your finger across the coin. Do you feel subtle ridges where no ridges should be? Hold it under a light. Do cracks or extra metal lines catch your eye? These are the tells, the signals that whisper, you are holding something extraordinary. Imagine finding one, slipping it into a protective case instead of a vending machine. Imagine knowing that you had the vision, the courage, the awareness to spot what billions of others overlooked. That is the difference between 1 cent and a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The market has already spoken. Collectors and dealers pay astonishing sums for high-grade, error 2007 D Lincoln pennies. Right now, the right coin with the right flaw can fetch up to $207,000. Let that sink in. A penny, 20 cents shy of nothing, suddenly worth more than most people's homes. And it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Don't wait. Don't assume it's someone else's story. Start checking your coins today. Your freedom, your breakthrough, your once-in-a-lifetime treasure might already be waiting. Because the truth is simple. In a world full of ordinary pennies, one coin could make you extraordinary. Imagine this. You're holding a penny in your hand. A coin so ordinary it barely catches your eye. Copper brown, scratched, maybe a little dull. The kind of penny you might toss on the counter without a thought. But what if I told you that exact coin might secretly be worth more than most people's houses? And worse, most people spend it never knowing what they just lost. Stay with me, because tonight, I'm going to tell you the secret of the 2006 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin so rare, so unusual, that it has quietly shattered expectations and turned ordinary people into overnight legends. The story begins in 2006, a year most collectors barely glanced at. A year when the U.S. Mint was producing billions, yes, billions of Lincoln cents. And when there are billions of something, the natural assumption is that none of them matter. They're everywhere. They're common. They're worthless. But hiding in that endless flood of copper-plated zinc, a mistake slipped through. A mistake no one expected. No mint mark. No little D for Denver. No proud S for San Francisco. Not even the silent P we know should stand for Philadelphia. Nothing. Just Lincoln's face, staring back, marked only by silence. At first, no one noticed. Imagine that, a fortune hiding in plain sight. Collectors were flipping rolls of coins, counting, stacking, shrugging. But one man, let's call him Daniel, stopped. He saw something strange. He held the penny close, his heart racing as he realized the mint mark was gone. And what he thought was just pocket change suddenly became a story. He couldn't even tell his wife without her laughing in disbelief. But Daniel wasn't crazy. That missing mark transformed his 1-cent coin into a whisper of history. Because the mint doesn't like mistakes. They bury them. They deny them. And when one slips through, it becomes a living ghost of American money. Something that should not exist but does. Now think about this. Billions of 2006 pennies are still out there. In coffee cans, in old purses, in the drawer where you throw your spare change. Billions of ordinary coins. But just a handful with the missing mint mark. A handful that could pay off your debts, change your family's story, or fund the life you've always dreamed of. Here's where it gets dangerous. The world doesn't wait. The longer you ignore this, the more likely someone else finds the coin that should have been yours. That thought alone keeps collectors awake at night. Because every day, people unknowingly spend their treasure on a cup of coffee. So what exactly do you look for? Simpler than you think. Pick up any 2006 Lincoln penny. Hold it close under the light. Normally, you'd see a D stamped neatly under the year. But if it's missing, completely blank, your heart should skip a beat. Because that is the ghost. That is the treasure. Don't be fooled by worn-out coins where the mint mark has faded. Real errors aren't accidents of time. They're accidents of creation. The strike will look clean, deliberate, not worn away. That's the difference between holding junk and holding a life-changing discovery. And the reward? Here's the part that stuns even seasoned collectors. In today's market, a flawless 2006 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been valued at up to $206,000. $206,000. For a coin most people would never bend down to pick off the floor. So now I have one question for you. How many 2006 pennies have slipped through your hands already? How many times have you spent the very thing that could have rewritten your story? Don't let it happen again. Tonight, open those jars, dig into those drawers, pour out the coins that have been sitting in silence for years. Somewhere, right now, a simple, overlooked penny is waiting for someone who finally knows what to look for. And if that someone is you, your life may never look the same again because yes, this is real. Right now, a single 2006 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $206,000. And it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a crumpled dollar and pulling out what looks like nothing more than a faded old penny. You hold it between your fingers, ready to toss it into a jar or spend it without a second thought. But what if that ordinary copper coin was worth more than your car, your house, even your entire retirement fund? That's not a fairy tale. That's the story of the 1998 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, one of the strangest, most overlooked mysteries in modern American money. The United States Mint is supposed to leave a signature on its work. A tiny P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, a mark of origin, proof of legitimacy. But in 1998, something happened. Some coins slipped through without a mint mark at all. A whisper of copper that shouldn't exist. A mistake so small it could pass through millions of hands, invisible to almost everyone. Why does that matter? Because in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are gold. A missing letter, a double design, a mark that never should have been there. These quirks transform everyday change into priceless artifacts. And the 1998 no mint mark penny? It became one of those ghosts. Rare, desired, almost mythical. Here's the part no one tells you. These coins weren't supposed to escape. Every die, every press, every strike was monitored. But one slip, one overlooked detail, turned a batch of ordinary coins into potential jackpots. A few collectors spotted it. A few lives quietly changed forever. Picture this. A man in Ohio, sifting through his late father's coin collection. Dusty envelopes, faded wrappers, coins everyone else would have called worthless. And there it was, a 1998 Lincoln penny, perfectly struck, no mint mark. To the untrained eye, just a cent. To the trained collector, a once-in-a-lifetime find worth more than a luxury car. And this is where your story comes in. Because coins like this don't sit behind museum glass. They're out there, in jars, in drawers, in boxes forgotten in attics. They travel from cashier to customer, slipped into hands without anyone knowing. The only difference between the person who cashes it in at a gas station and the person who retires early because of it is knowledge. So how do you know if you've found one? First, the date, 1998. Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Then look closer. Right under the date, there should be a mint mark. If you see nothing, no D, no S, no P, you may be holding a ghost coin. But don't rush to sell it. Condition matters. The crispness of Lincoln's jawline, the sharpness of the lettering, the shine of the surface. Even the tiniest nick can change the value. And here's the twist. Some people, in their excitement, make the fatal mistake of cleaning the coin, thinking it will look more valuable. In reality, that single act can destroy thousands of dollars in worth. The dirt is part of the history. Leave it untouched. Let the coin speak in its own voice. Now imagine the possibility. You dump a jar of pennies on your kitchen table tonight. Among the rust and tarnish, you spot a 1998 without a mint mark. Your heart races. You're holding what could be worth not 1 cent, not $1, but up to $953,000 in today's market. That's not a typo. Nearly $1 million. From a coin you could have spent on gum. This isn't about pennies. This is about freedom. The freedom that comes from knowing the world hides treasures in plain sight, and only the watchful, the patient, the curious ever find them. So here's my challenge to you. Before you sleep tonight, grab your change jar, your wallet, that old cigar box of coins in the back of your closet. Look closely, carefully, because somewhere in America right now, this exact penny is waiting to be discovered. And it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine holding an ordinary penny, a coin so common, so invisible that most people wouldn't glance at it twice. Now imagine that same penny hiding a flaw so rare, so overlooked, that it transforms into a life-altering fortune. This is not a fairy tale. This is the forgotten story of the 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, and it may be closer to you than you dare believe. Somewhere, tucked away in an old coffee can, or buried at the bottom of a drawer, there exists a coin the United States Mint never meant for you to find. A coin born out of human error, released quietly into circulation, and now whispered about like a myth. And here's the twist. This mistake is worth more than most people's cars, more than some people's homes. What if I told you it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The story begins in 1995, a year that seemed so ordinary, but behind the mint doors, nothing was ordinary. That was the year a striking error slipped through. A batch of Lincoln pennies missing their identifying mint mark. The mint mark is the tiny letter stamped onto every coin, telling you where it was made. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Each coin leaves with a signature. But when the signature vanishes, the coin becomes a phantom, and phantoms are priceless. Think about it. The government prides itself on perfection, yet perfection cracked. These pennies were born incomplete, faceless in their identity, anonymous. And while millions of normal coins poured into circulation unnoticed, a handful of these silent ghosts slipped through. They looked like every other penny, until someone with sharp eyes noticed the absence. One story still echoes in collector circles. A man in the Midwest, emptying his father's old coin jar after his passing, found one of these mintless 1995 pennies. He almost spent it at the gas station. But something caught his attention. No mint mark.
No trace.
That single moment of hesitation changed his family's financial future forever. Imagine inheriting grief and instead finding freedom inside a penny. But here's where it gets dangerous. Because every ordinary-looking 1995 penny could hide this secret. It doesn't shout. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't announce itself. It hides in plain sight. And most people, millions of them, have already spent theirs, never realizing they just let a small fortune slip through their fingers. Could that have been you? Could it still be? Ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at a penny? When was the last time you held one to the light, studied its face, checked its identity? The treasure doesn't hide in a locked vault. It hides in your own pocket. And if you've ignored pennies your whole life, this is the moment to stop. So how do you find it? First, pull out every 1995 penny you own. Turn it over in your hand. Search for that tiny mark, usually just below the date. On a normal coin, you'll see a letter, D for Denver, S for San Francisco. But on this one, nothing. Absolute silence. That empty space is the doorway to wealth. That absence is the key. But here's the warning, counterfeits exist. Some people try to erase mint marks to fool collectors. Don't be tricked. Look for authenticity, natural wear, the right aging, the tiny imperfections that come only from the mint itself. And if you think you've found one, don't rush to sell it cheap. Because every year, the value climbs higher. Right now, in today's market, the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has sold for staggering amounts, up to $953,000. Yes, a single cent. Almost $1 million. So before you spend another penny, before you let another coin slip through your hand unnoticed, stop. Look closer. The treasure you've been waiting for might not be locked away in a bank vault. It might already be resting in the palm of your hand. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store. The cashier slides a handful of change into your palm, and buried in that pile of ordinary copper is a single penny. You barely glance at it, you almost toss it in your pocket without a thought. But what if that 1 cent could secretly be worth nearly $1 million? Most people never notice. Most people spend it without hesitation. And yet, in 1994, the U.S. Mint unleashed one of the most dangerous little secrets in American currency history. A mistake so small, so invisible to the casual eye, that even experienced collectors passed it by. And that's exactly why this story could change everything for you. The coin I'm talking about is the 1994 Lincoln penny. Harmless at first glance, no bigger than the thousands of others you've handled in your lifetime. But in rare cases, a few slip through with a chilling flaw. No mint mark at all. No D for Denver. No P for Philadelphia. Just a blank, anonymous little circle of copper-coated zinc, hiding in plain sight. Why does that matter? Because mint marks are like fingerprints. They tell us where a coin was born, how it entered the world. Without one, it becomes an orphan, an anomaly. And in the collecting world, anomalies are gold. Picture this. A man in Ohio once found one tucked away in a jar that had sat on his father's dresser for decades. He thought it was just spare change, until an appraiser's magnifying glass revealed the truth. What he held in his hand wasn't just a penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime accident of history. And the value? Enough to wipe out debt, buy a house, change the course of a family's future forever. And here's the part that rattles me most. The mint never announced this mistake. They never warned the public. They simply let these flawed coins scatter into circulation like a magician's sleight of hand, which means some of them are still out there. Think about it. How many jars of coins are gathering dust in attics across America? How many piggy banks have been ignored for decades? How many times have you dismissed a penny as worthless, when it might have been your escape ticket from the ordinary life you've been living? Let's reset for a moment. What if you walked to your dresser drawer tonight, poured out a handful of change, and realized you were holding something worth $994,000? Wouldn't you look twice? Wouldn't you look at every coin differently from this moment forward? So how do you know if you've got one of these rare 1994 no-mint mark pennies? First, the obvious. Check under the date. If you see nothing, no letter, no mark, no sign of where it came from, don't ignore it. Second, don't assume damage or wear has erased the mint mark. A true no-mint mark penny will look sharp, clean, and unmistakably blank. Finally, remember this: rarity is everything. Billions of ordinary 1994 pennies exist. Only a handful carry this defect. And it's those few that can make your life unrecognizable overnight. I'll leave you with this. Every fortune starts with a choice to look closer, to question what others ignore. Somewhere in America, someone right now has this penny sitting in a jar, forgotten and unvalued. But in the open market, under the fierce gaze of collectors and auction houses, that same coin can command up to $994,000. So check your change. Search your drawers. Look at every penny like it could be the key. Because one day soon, someone will stumble upon this hidden treasure. And the question is, will it be you? Imagine this. You open your wallet, glance at a penny, and almost toss it aside. But what if that simple, ordinary coin could rewrite the story of your life? What if, hidden in plain sight, you were holding a secret the U.S. Mint never wanted you to notice? A mistake so rare it could turn a single cent into nearly $1 million. The 1991 Lincoln penny without a mint mark. Sounds harmless, almost boring. But that coin, tiny, copper-colored, nearly invisible in the palm of your hand, carries with it a mystery that has haunted collectors for decades. And tonight, I'm going to tell you the truth that could change the way you look at every coin you've ever touched. You see, the U.S. Mint is supposed to mark its work, like an artist signing a painting. Denver gets a D. San Francisco an S. Philadelphia usually no mark at all, but in 1991 something happened. Something slipped. A run of pennies were struck without their proper mark. Some say it was an accident. Others whisper it was negligence. A silent betrayal of the very system designed to keep track of history. And here's where the story gets dangerous. Most people will never notice. They'll spend it. They'll toss it in a jar. They'll watch it disappear into the river of change flowing through millions of hands. But for the few who know what to look for, this coin becomes a golden ticket. Picture this. A man in Ohio once sat down to sort through his late father's collection. Dusty coffee cans full of pennies, nickels, dimes, just junk to most. But as he sifted, something caught his eye. A 1991 penny, clean, smooth, strangely unmarked. He almost shrugged and let it go, until he realized it was one of the most valuable errors of his generation. That single cent turned into a six-figure fortune. And in that moment, his father's hobby became his inheritance. What would it mean if that happened to you? If one forgotten jar of coins in your attic held the key to paying off debts, buying your freedom, rewriting your future? Would you even recognize it before it slipped away? Here's the truth most people don't want you to hear. In 1991, only a fraction of these no-mint mark pennies were ever struck. Many have been lost, destroyed, or overlooked. But some are still out there, circulating, hiding in old wallets, desk drawers, even coin rolls at your bank. And right now, one of them could be closer than you think. So how do you know if you've found one? Hold the coin under good light. Look at the date, 1991. Then look carefully under Lincoln's portrait, near the rim. If there is no denotes nothing at all, then you may be staring at history's whisper. The absence itself is the signal. But be warned, countless ordinary pennies look similar. You need patience, magnification, and above all, the awareness that a mistake this rare cannot be treated casually. Imagine the heartbreak of spending it at a gas station. Imagine handing over a fortune for a stick of gum. That's why collectors guard these coins like sacred relics. And why you must never dismiss what looks ordinary. Because here's the shocking reality. As of now, authenticated examples of the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny have sold for staggering amounts, up to $991,000. Nearly $1 million for 1 cent. So the question becomes, are you going to keep walking past the treasure in your own pocket? Or will you take this moment, this chance, to become one of the few who recognize it? Every coin you touch carries a story. Most tell nothing new. But once in a lifetime, a coin tells a secret. And the 1991 no-mint mark penny is that secret. Check your coins. Search your jars. Because right now, this exact penny is worth up to $991,000. And it could be sitting in your hand at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a dull brown penny, and realizing it could pay off your mortgage, wipe out every bill you owe, and buy you the kind of freedom most people only dream about. Sounds impossible, right? But in 1988, the United States Mint let something slip into circulation that almost no one was supposed to see. And tonight, I'm going to tell you the secret. This isn't a rumor. It isn't some old wives' tale for coin hunters. It's real. It's documented. And it has turned ordinary pennies into life-changing fortunes. And the strangest part? Millions of Americans have handled this coin and never even noticed. So what makes the 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark so dangerous, so powerful, and so unbelievably rare? The truth begins with a mistake. One that should have never left the factory floor. Most pennies struck in 1988 were born in Philadelphia. By law, they were supposed to carry the mint's proud letter, its fingerprint, its mark of identity. But somewhere, in the chaos of machines, in the clash of metal against metal, a batch of dies were prepared incorrectly. The result? A small number of 1988 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark at all. Coin without a birthplace. A coin that shouldn't exist. Collectors call it a ghost coin. Historians call it an oversight. But for the few who find it, they call it freedom. Picture this. A man in Ohio goes to pay for gas. He slides a penny across the counter, just like he's done 1,000 times before. But the cashier, an amateur coin collector, notices something. There's no mint mark. He buys the coin on the spot for $100. That same coin later auctions for over $100,000. A single cent transformed into a down payment on a house. And that's not even the highest. Today, pristine examples of this 1988 no mint mark penny have shattered records, crossing into the six-figure territory. Right now, market watchers are whispering a number that almost feels unreal. $988,000. For a coin you could mistake as junk change. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Not every 1988 penny without a mint mark is valuable. There are counterfeits, fakes, coins worn down to look like something they're not. And that's where most hopeful treasure hunters lose everything. So how do you tell the real from the worthless? First, flip the coin under the light. On genuine examples, Lincoln's portrait has sharper lines than its later 1989 counterpart. Look at the spacing between the letters Liberty and the rim. If it matches the 1989 style instead of 1988, you've stumbled upon the rare transition error that launched this coin into legend. That subtle detail, almost invisible to the naked eye, is the line between pocket change and a small fortune. Now here's the chilling part. These coins don't just hide in safe boxes or museums. They surface in estate sales, in jars forgotten in basements, in the backs of kitchen drawers. Families throw them into Coinstar machines every single day, never realizing what just slipped away. So I have to ask you, when was the last time you looked closely at your pennies? Not glanced, but truly looked? Because if you're holding a 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, you're not just holding a piece of metal. You're holding a time bomb of value, a mistake that the mint wished had never escaped, a secret treasure map written on copper. And here's the real truth. The people who get rich from coins aren't always the experts. They're the curious ones. The ones willing to check their change, to turn over a coin and see what the rest of the world ignores. So tonight, when this video ends, I want you to do something powerful. Go to your jars, your purses, your old collections. Lay those pennies out under the light and ask yourself, is one of these the key to your freedom? Because right now, the 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $988,000. And it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Picture this. You reach into your pocket, pull out a penny, and without knowing it, you're holding a small, worn, ordinary-looking coin that could rewrite the rest of your life. A coin so overlooked, so misunderstood, that even seasoned collectors once tossed it aside. And yet today, it could be worth nearly $1 million. But here's the twist. This coin doesn't shout its value. It whispers. It hides. It waits for someone brave enough, patient enough, curious enough to truly see it. That coin is the 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Why does this one penny hold the power to change everything? Let's peel back the curtain. The year was 1967. The United States Mint was under pressure. For years, collectors had been hoarding coins, causing shortages across the nation. The mint made a drastic move. It stripped away the mint marks, the tiny letters that tell you where a coin was struck. For 3 years, from 1965 to 1967, no coins carried a mint mark at all. The intention was simple: discourage collectors, flood the market with ordinary coins, and restore the flow of change. But in their attempt to erase significance, they accidentally created a legend. Because hidden within that flood of 1,967 pennies were coins struck with mistakes. Off-center strikes, double dies, misaligned lettering, even strange metal compositions. Errors so subtle that most people never noticed. And because no mint marks were present, every one of these flawed survivors blends seamlessly into the sea of common pennies. Imagine an ocean of billions, hiding a few diamonds of history, waiting to be uncovered. Now, let me ask you, what would you do if you realized one of those diamonds was sitting in a jar on your dresser? Would you rush to cash it in? Would you hold it close, knowing you were holding a fragment of American history worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? One man did. A collector decades ago stumbled across a 1967 penny unlike any other. The strike was wrong, its details bizarre, but its rarity undeniable. That coin, once dismissed as worthless, became the centerpiece of an auction, hammered down at a price that could buy a house outright. A penny. Just one penny. Think about that. How many 1967 pennies have slipped through your fingers? How many times have you paid for coffee, dropped change in a tip jar, emptied your pockets without a second thought, while the very coin that could have changed your future clinked away unnoticed? Here's the truth. These coins don't sparkle under the light like gold. They don't shout their value like a diamond ring. They hide in plain sight, asking one simple question. Will you look closely enough? So how do you spot one? First, know what you're holding. Every 1967 Lincoln penny will appear without a mint mark. That part is normal. The secret lies in the details. Search for doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." Watch for off-center strikes, where Lincoln's face drifts awkwardly against the rim. Inspect the edges for strange planchet errors, clipped corners, uneven surfaces, and never ignore the weight. A penny that feels just a fraction heavier or lighter could be a wrong metal strike worth a fortune. Collectors and dealers who know what to look for guard these coins fiercely. They grade them, preserve them, auction them off for staggering amounts. But the open secret is this: most of these treasures have never even been found. They're still out there, tucked into piggy banks, coin jars, forgotten coffee cans in basements and attics. And here's where the story collides with your life. Because tonight, after this video ends, you have a choice. You could go on believing pennies are just pennies. Or you could pick up that jar of change, look again, and maybe, just maybe, spot the coin that millions of Americans have overlooked for over half a century. Remember this. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often no bigger than a glance, no deeper than the shine of copper. Right now, a single 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny has been valued at up to $967,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. So check your coins. Check them tonight, because history doesn't always sit in a museum. Sometimes it jingles in your pocket, waiting for you to find it.